Hello, welcome to episode 4 of the Left Crew Politics vlog. I'm your host for this episode, Rick Shew, and with me, and if you've watched our show, listened to our podcast, you know I'm going to butcher his name. I have for 20-something years, Jeremy Gruhlkey.
Hey, that was actually right.
I got it. 25 years later, you son of a bitch, I got it.
Oh,
nice. And our returning guest, I mean, Matt, I think we should just call this our show. Like, we have all these great podcast guests, obviously you're included, but for some reason, we're just all, the three of us are doing this together. We have another guy with Left Crew, Michael Malloy. I'm going to troll him. I don't guess he'll ever show his pretty face on here.
it'll happen.
It'll happen. So
Yeah.
Matt Rogers, what's up, buddy? What's going on with you, sir? From Politidope, Matt Rogers.
A lot. I guess we got a presidential election year going on.
What?
Right?
Who's running?
The worst president in American history, and that's pretty much all that matters.
We were just talking off mic about George Bush, and because we were, I live in Dallas, you're in DC, and Jeremy is in LA.
I'm in Arlington, Virginia.
You are in Arlington, Virginia. I'm sorry. Thank you for that clarification. That's an important distinction. And here in Dallas is SMU. We were talking about a friend of mine that graduated from there off camera, and I had mentioned that it's the George Bush Library. Anyway, here's my point, because you just said it's the worst president in American history. Let's kick the show off with this. Bush was a horrendous president. And one of the things about Trump's America and just how atrocious he is as a person, how just vile and racist and awful he is.
Yes.
Do we overshadow how horrible Bush's presidency is because of Trump's fuckery? I guess, and let me phrase it like this, and I'll step back. Has Trump done anything as bad as getting us into Iraq?
Well, you may remember that at the turn of the new year, he assassinated a world leader.
Yeah. Also pulled out of the Iran deal. Those two things are connected.
I actually think he is, just for the record. I just want to know what you guys think, because I have to sometimes think
Has he done anything worse than the Iraq War? I would say several things, yes. Mismanagement of the COVID crisis would be a big one. I mean, we just crossed 200,000 dead Americans, so that's pretty bad. I would say pulling out of the Iran deal was pretty bad. Iran just announced this year, I don't know if Iran announced, it was announced that Iran would probably have enough enriched uranium for a bomb before the end of the year. That wouldn't have happened without pulling out of the Iran deal.
Good job, Trump.
Yeah, good job, Trump. And I would say that on the whole, the world is less stable by far now than it was than anything that Bush did. Now, certainly he destabilized the Middle East quite a bit, the Iraq and Afghanistan and all of those things, the whole axis of evil. I don't have anything really positive to say about Bush's foreign policy, but on the whole, every authoritarian dictator and bad actor in the world has gotten more aggressive over the last 4 years. And every ally that we have has pulled back on their loyalty to us. I would say we're closer to a global conflict now than we have been since the Cuban Missile Crisis.
And my point dovetails with that. He and Mr. Putin have showed the basically the Swiss cheese nature of our election laws that would allow for essentially a world power, as long as you don't collude past to a conspiracy. You can essentially work with the presidential candidate to get the president you want, who will loosen sanctions or allow you to continue pumping oil into the air. And I mean, look at the effing wildfires that Gruhlkey's got to deal with these days. They're coming to you, by the way.
The smoke has reached the East Coast.
And you said his name, but you said his name more consistently than I have.
I might say consistently more.
Let's shift gears here and come back to a couple of these points, particularly Trump's response to COVID. I just wanted to throw that out there about Bush, because I vacillate sometimes with that. But just having these conversations and saying these things out loud, policy-wise. And I guess that's also how bad Trump is just as a human being. that sometimes I forget how bad his policy is. I just can't stand him so much.
Well, there was a lot done
Right.
during the Bush administration that made a lot of what Trump is doing possible with regards to a centralization of power in an executive that was unaccountable, with a party that was complicit in failing to hold them accountable. So we saw
in an opposition party who's unwilling to hold them accountable. Sorry, I got
unwilling or incapable.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
they are, and that's why we've said this on this show before. We are terrible at messaging, and we are terrible at power. And it was not until Obama served his 2 terms honorably and left that I realized how weak and pathetic the Democratic Party really, really was, and quite frankly is. All right, before we go down a couple rabbit holes, I want to talk about the #1 most important topic of the day. Before we do that, okay, what are we drinking here? We always drink something. I have a Tufts Brewery IPA, which is a local brewery in Dallas. It's fabulous. And I'm double fisting here because I'm about to go 30 days without drinking anything. So I'm going to have some fun these next 2 days. And then my Jameson, this is my IPA edition. Okay, double fisting. Okay.
I'm having
a screwdriver. That's a screwdriver.
No, just orange juice tonight. I had a bit too much fun last night, and because I was celebrating finding out the healthy baby, 20 months.
20 weeks.
Not 20
months. 20 months is not a healthy baby. That's an elephant.
Yes.
And I tweeted to you, welcome to the club. And my brother, I tell you, man, being a dad, can't wait for us to share stories about it. It's fabulous. Yeah, sure. And do me a favor, as because I consider you a good friend.
Yes.
My first child, I wished her life away. That sounds really terrible. Here's what I mean by that. I wanted, like, okay, she's a baby. That's great. I want her to be able to talk. And she can talk. Now I want her to be able to walk.
Yeah.
I want her to be able to run to me and say, hi, Daddy. And, you know, what I learned with my second child is to cherish every single step of the way, and every phase of a baby child's life is beautiful and unique. And just don't do that. Not that you will or would have, but just some advice, you know.
Yeah, that's a good lesson. No,
it is. Because you want that. You have this baby, you want them to talk to you. By the way, it is awesome. But when my second was born, I just realized cherish every second. I'm glad I did. So, all right, very cool. So you drank too much yesterday because you're celebrating your
Yeah, well, I it kind of threw me off because I'm trying to get my cardio back from last year. COVID kind of took away. I was doing a lot of walking and light jogging, but I'm kind of trying to get myself back ready because I'm a amateur competitive runner. So like I like to do 5Ks, and so I did a 10-miler last year, and I'm coming up on the time when I was like, this is the time of year when I did it. I need to be able to do the 10-miler in this time. I got to do it. So
nice.
Drinking isn't great for cardio.
Yeah, no, it's not. Jeremy, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Basil Hayden's Kentucky Straight Bourbon whiskey.
You need to drink something else every episode. That's what you're drinking.
That's not true. Sometimes I'm drinking Fortaleza Reposado.
This is true. You did drink tequila, and this
yeah, tequila. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually drink tequila more often now than I drink bourbon. But what I discovered was that with bourbon, I'll sit down and I'll pour one and maybe a second, and then I stop. But with tequila, it's just like the elbow is constantly tilted. And so
it's too good. Yeah.
I was going through the tequila a lot faster than the bourbon. So I've kind of switched back to bourbon during the pandemic to limit my drinking a little bit.
Well, let's talk about limit drinking for a moment, because losing RBG is driving me to drink more as I'm going into drinking less.
Few people really know she was like a chronic, like serious alcoholic. She was down in, no, obviously not, but.
Chief Justice Roberts today said something pretty cool. He said when she was a little girl, she wanted to be, what was it, an opera singer? I'm butchering this. I should have been prepared to even go here. He said, but she ended up being a rock star. And I just thought that was actually a pretty cool thing that he said. But listen, guys, she was an amazing woman. And as a father of 2 daughters, I look at her as a role model for my girls. We can talk about her career and her as a person. And that's a whole separate show. And she's amazing. She was amazing. But it's not lost on me the political ramifications of this just weeks before an election, and it's just and it sucks so bad on so many levels, but particularly because that she tried and fought so hard to hang in there, And I didn't know the woman, but we all know this is true. I think that her desire to not pass before Trump's first term, or hopefully last term, was a big motivator for her to stay alive. I really do believe that, and I can say that definitively because what does she say virtually on her deathbed? It was a letter she sent to her granddaughter, right? And basically said, "My last wish is that I'm not replaced before the next president can do so." And Matt, let me ask you a question. You're running for office. You're heavily involved in politics, more so than just a couple of blowhards like Jeremy and I are. What are the odds? Is Mitch McConnell going to fill that seat?
I think Mitt Romney likes the cameras. I think he's gonna go along with the procedural steps. I think personally that he wants his John McCain moment, and he's gonna go along with the process, at least because that is like the Mitt Romney conservatism that ties Trump and him somewhat together, is that kind of wanton, or that bottomless need for more judges, more conservative ideologues on the court. And so I think that may be a bridge too far for Romney to completely out of hand dismiss. But I think
you're referring to John McCain's vote on Obamacare, right?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
This thing.
Yeah. Just make sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So he wants to.
More.
I think he's gonna play it out. I think we're gonna sweat it out, but I think.
Well, you still need one more.
And by the way, I'm not convinced. Jeremy, are you convinced?
Collins, Murkowski, and Romney. You'd still need one more.
But are you convinced that Romney's going to do that? I'm afraid
I'm not. No,
I'm not either. I hope he's right. God, I hope he's right. Here's my prediction, guys, and it's just the bottom line. I think they're going to get one in, and Trump's going to have three justices. And then I still think it's 50-50 that gets reelected, and then he may have two more. And it's a nightmarish thing to say, but can you imagine a world where 5 justices, 5, are Donald J. Trumps? Fuck.
No, they're Vladimir Putin's.
No, I don't want to imagine that world, to be honest with you. I do think that McConnell's probably going to get it through. I don't know what recourse the Democrats really have, what potentially we could do to stop it. There's been talk about, starting an impeachment process for either Trump or Barr.
Regardless, sorry.
Yeah.
What's that, Matt?
We should have already impeached Barr anyways. This is
right.
What we're talking about, where we don't know how to fight.
I think, though, that, I don't know, maybe I'm doing what the Democratic leadership does, and that I think that there's probably a bigger political downside to instigating another impeachment at this point. I mean, from all the polling suggests and all the data suggests that all the Democrats can do at this point is fuck it up, right? So I think there's probably a lot of second guessing going on about, should we do this or should we do that? Certainly Bill Barr deserves to be impeached. Certainly Trump deserved to be convicted on the first impeachment, and there's various other grounds to have impeached him on since that impeachment. But I don't know that we really win ourselves any points with the public by making that happen. Democrats are judged more harshly by the public for being seen as playing politics than Republicans are. It's just the way things go. It's a matter of fact. It's something that we have to deal with. Now, that doesn't mean we shouldn't fight stronger and fight harder. We definitely should. But I don't think that right now necessarily instigating another impeachment is going to help us in any way.
Well, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I don't see impeachment as something like that's exactly being politically gamed out. And I think that what motivates Democratic voters and what motivates Republican voters are different things. And I think that basically, the way I see it as just a citizen, but also a political observer, is by not impeaching them for these things that are clearly outside of the bounds of what we consider to be responsible behavior in office.
Sure.
Because we are going along with it, are setting it as the new standard. whereby someone else could come by next and then do maybe even less, get impeached, and say, you soft Democrats didn't want to impeach them for doing this. And so that's just, maybe it's just the...
It's definitely a fair argument. But
yeah.
I think if we impeach him and then he is acquitted by the Republicans in the Senate again, that just goes that much far to solidifying it as normalized and acceptable behavior.
Which is exactly what it'll do, and it didn't even affect him politically anyway, him being Trump.
Not one bit.
But here's my larger question here, or my larger point, whatever, is that correct me if I'm wrong here, gentlemen, but the whole point of the impeachment is to clog up the Senate itinerary because they by law
wouldn't work for that anyway.
It wouldn't work.
No, because you can still perform official business.
Yes.
In the hours before the impeachment process starts
of course.
every day.
They'd still
Mitch McConnell controls everything that happens on the floor of the Senate. He controls the timing of it. He controls the structure of it.
Right.
If he wants to get a nominee through, a nominee will get through.
Matt, is that? I agree with Jeremy.
Right.
Okay. Then when people say that, I see very smart people tweeting this stuff that they could clog up the queue essentially, and then by virtue of that, there would not be like bullshit. Mitch McConnell. First of all, Mitch McConnell. I wish I was a fan of him, because is there a more shrewd and talented politician than Mitch McConnell? He's not a great speaker. He's not inspiring. I can't stand him. I think he's a slime ball, but he's effective.
I don't think that he's actually like got a unique set of skills. Yes, he does his job well and very well, but he really, all he understands is one key thing you understand as an elected official is power. When you have the votes, you tell, and you've got the purse strings on the Senate leadership fundraising list and the donors. You just tell them, hey, we're voting for this nominee, and if you say no, then we're going to cut you off. You might as well be a Democrat.
Well, but it's effective, right? Here, let's break it down for a moment. Let's talk about the Supreme Court. He gambled with Merrick Garland. Is that fair to say? Jeremy, do you agree with that?
Merrick Garland? Oh, yes. Oh, during Obama, yes.
Yeah, that was a gamble for him, and it paid off tremendously. And now look at him. That move, he was playing chess, and now he's going to have 3 Supreme Court justices based off that calculation alone. That one single thing, he's getting 3. It's true.
I don't know if it was a calculation or chess playing as much as it was just pure obstructionism and denial. I mean, I don't know that he was going to do anything different.
I'm going to block this move here for this power move there. That's literally chess.
Well, certainly the result of the thing is that, I don't think he expected Trump to be elected at that point. He was gambling on the idea that Trump would be elected, but he didn't know he was going to be elected.
And he helped him be elected by not allowing it to be released that it was a bipartisan finding that Russia was trying to help him during 2016 when Obama came to them.
That's correct.
Pushed that along. Just raw power. He uses raw power. Is that how our levers of government are to be used at all?
But he uses it effectively, and his results speak for themselves, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think he's effective at what he does, for sure.
Far more effective than Harry Reid ever was.
What he's really effective at is using those levers of government that Matt just mentioned, and finding that, he's Bill Belichickian as far as the Senate rules go, and he's really able to look at the Senate rules and say, well, this is technically legal. It's never been done before, and the precedent for setting it is awful, but I can technically do it. And my party will reward me for it, at least in the short term. Now, he may get 3 justices out of the move that you think he was made playing chess. But the truth is that in making this move, they're basically writing off the chances of most of their Senate contenders in this election. More than likely, they've already decided they're going to lose the Senate. They're more than likely going to lose the House. And that's not lose the House, but lose the White House. And that's why they're willing to do something that is so incredibly unpopular and force it through, despite the fact that it goes completely against what they just said 4 years ago. It's going to make their candidates less likely to win in places where they need to win.
I wish all that were true. The problem is, in the world of Trump, I just don't feel like that I agree with your analysis here. I'm telling you guys, we could wake up in a couple of months and they're going to maintain the Senate. They could even have gain seats, and Trump's going to win re-election. We'll keep the House. That's a reality. That's going to happen. There's a 50% chance that that's going to happen, at least the White House for sure.
I think he's so close to the precipice of where he can fall to even be in contention. I think Democrats, we mislearn the lessons of elections. Like the 2016 election, we barely lost that one. Honestly, all of those, it's 70-something thousand votes. Then in 2018, some people think about the Senate map as if we always run the same map every time we run for the Senate.
Right.
And
it's a really bad map for us.
Yeah, 18 was a horrible map. We're defending in Missouri and places like that. This time, we're defending in Michigan. But we get chances to pick up like a Kansas, a South
potentially
Carolina.
2 in Georgia.
Yeah.
Colorado. And
Colorado,
Arizona.
He's gone. Yeah. We're gonna get at least 3 Senate seats.
At least.
I hope you're right. Oh God, I hope you're right. But Matt, I used to bet on politics. I used to actually place a bet. I mean, like I remember I won $500 when Obama was reelected and whatnot. What I'm saying right now is after Trump's election, I realized that you cannot predict what voters will do, because fundamentally voters on average are not very informed, and they vote on their emotions. And if you're an independent and you vote independent and you voted for Bush, then Obama, then Trump, I don't know if you're independent or just schizophrenic. I don't know. I don't even know what you are. But I have been so cynical ever since Trump was elected. 2018 did give me some hope. But what doesn't give me hope is you take COVID. We'll come full circle about some of the stuff that Trump has said recently. You take all the things that have transpired with the Mueller report that Bill Barr obviously won the day in terms of the narrative behind that. You look at all the god-awful things from a foreign policy perspective, to the economy crashing, to the debt deficit, everything, to North Korea, to Iran. And where's Trump? 45%. He hasn't moved. He's still there. That guy should be at 25%. He's still there, and he's in the margin of error, whether he's a little above or a little below in key swing states, and it scares the living hell out of me.
It's a referendum on us, like less so than it is about Trump. As I've always said, he's just a symptom of our larger societal illness. People are just trying to exercise pure power, raw power over others. These are legitimately like not great people.
Right? They're not good people.
They don't care about the facts that this guy's a criminal, that he knows COVID is deadly. Can
we pick up on that for a moment? So, yes. And I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just think it's an important thing to really hone in on, because we kind of alluded to it a couple of times already. Okay, so I have friends and family, and yes, I do have friends and family that are megas. And I see it all over online, Facebook, Twitter, et cetera, what have you. And Trump was coming out a month or 2 ago, and his tone on COVID had changed a bit. I always took it seriously. I always did. I'm even wearing a mask now. And everybody said, what else was he supposed to do? He banned travel from China. He did this, of course, all these things, all these steps that he took place. I had people that they went from it being a hoax, it was a Chinese hoax to overthrow Trump, to Trump handled everything well, and he's got it under control. Like they didn't know which narrative they wanted to embrace. What did Trump do that didn't take it seriously? And I want to go to every one of those individuals and say, the last 72 hours, first of all, he's still holding outdoor rallies with 0 social distancing, 0. And most people aren't wearing a mask. He's certainly not. That alone in itself, what signal does that send? He's doing it, and he's breaking state laws by doing it. He's standing on stage saying that COVID really is meaningless and it only affects people that had underlying.
It affects basically nobody.
It affects basically nobody. This is all in the last fucking 2 or 3 days.
He mocked people who wear masks last night.
Very literally.
Last night he mocked them.
Last night talks about Biden covering up his plastic surgery, and then there was a CNN reporter or somebody asking him questions. He's like, "Take that stupid thing off. It's pointless. I can't hear you." And they still will say that he has done a good job with it, right? It is mind-blowing.
This sport is not about conversion. Today's sport, now we'll have more ideologically based elections, like the 2012 election with Romney and Obama. That's the epitome of like an ideological election. The 8th election was more of a change election. This year is about raw fucking political power.
Yes.
Our side has to get everybody out to vote, and in huge numbers, because the Republicans are going to. They are going to, and they're going to try to kick our asses to end the game now.
Every time I drive by, and Dallas is predominantly blue. Texas obviously is still red, but Dallas is predominantly blue. But obviously it's still in Texas. And I'll drive by any lake like Ray Hubbard for those local people, Lake Louisville, whatever. Where am I? Yeah, Lake Louisville. And you'll see the Trump boat rallies, right? And they appear in my head to be hundreds, and there's dozens of boats with flags. Which, by the way, I really loved Obama as a president, but I can't imagine.
Like Obama flag flying outside your
dude, it's a cult.
I like him too, but come on, man.
It's a cult. But yes, but my point, kind of what you were talking about, is I look at that and say all those people and their friends, they're voting.
Yes.
They're going to vote. Are you? No, not you. I know you are, but you know.
No, I know what you're saying.
Are you? Our
viewers, are you fucking voting?
Hey, you two, are you fucking voting?
Seriously.
Because those mega motherfuckers on the lake with the boat and the flags, they're voting for him.
You keep saying mega. Is that? I thought it was MAGA.
He's the only person I've ever heard say it.
Say mega.
So Gruhlkey, you tell.
It's MAGA.
Is it MAGA? Is that really? Get the fuck out of here.
It's MAGA.
These mega fucks.
Mega.
I'm coining the phrase. It's mega. Hey, I'm going to take a
Megatron or something like that.
Hey, let's do it. We'll do a Twitter.
Oh my
Twitter
God.
poll to see how people pronounce it.
Yes.
It's MAGA.
Yeah, you do that. I'll retweet it, and we'll see. It's going to be like 99% MAGA.
Okay, hold on. Hey, since I'm going to do a video of this real quick, we'll tweet it out. Hey guys, this is we're doing a little part of our show here live for you. Is it mega or is it MAGA? Matt?
It's MAGA.
It's mega. It's MAGA. It's mega. Whatever. It's fucking
You're the
mega.
only person who says it that way.
Stay tuned tomorrow. The show will drop on YouTube. Mega. Fuck them.
Let me.
Oh my God.
Now we drink some more bourbon right here. It's getting my bourbon.
Drink some more bourbon. Shut the fuck up. That's great. All right. What's our next topic? You know what, guys? A podcast is a different animal. Like when I prepare for a podcast, I have it all mapped out. I do research on topics. I mean, I have sheets and sheets of, man, we're just rolling here. It's like 3 friends sitting around a bar drinking. What do you guys want to talk about? Jeremy, you text me a couple of topics. What did you text me here? What did you say you want to discuss? Just run with it, man. You were talking. Oh, we're talking about COVID. Talk about the vaccine bullshit. What's up with that, man?
The vaccine bullshit.
We're gonna have a vaccine in 2 weeks.
Trump, yeah, he's going to release it with his ready to go healthcare plan. Yeah, he keeps talking about having 100 million doses of a vaccine ready by the end of the year. It's literally logistically impossible. I don't know if people really understand what goes into not only developing a vaccine, but culturing it, manufacturing it, storing it, and then dispersing it, and then getting it actually, out to the general public, but there's zero possibility that you could have 100 million doses by the end of the year, especially since we don't have something that is currently approved and proven to be effective. Like
we are
Trump,
going to vaccinate a third of our people by the end of the year is what we're saying here.
It's nutty. It's a political statement. It's not a scientific statement. Logistically, it's not something that's possible. And the hardest part isn't just getting the vaccine developed and finding something that will actually work and that you can put through the trials, but it's the manufacture and storage of the vaccine and the logistics of getting it distributed. Because not only does it have to be manufactured in a 100% sterile environment, but it has to be stored in a 100% sterile environment in glass tubes that are themselves manufactured in a 100% sterile environment. And we just don't have the infrastructure to do that. It just doesn't exist. So if Trump came out, like, think of this, if there's a big vaccine and Trump was like, here's a needle and it just says Trump on the side, like Trump vaccine. Is that something that you're going to stick in your arm?
Yeah, no. I'm a steak guy. I wouldn't eat a steaks. I wouldn't wear shitty ties either.
Those were the worst steaks I've ever tasted in my life. I actually did have some of those.
And Jeremy and I have extensive background in the steakhouse business, and we fucking know steaks. It was terrible steak. But here's the deal. This is a dead serious topic. He is, man. When we talk about politicians, they're literally killing people.
Yep.
What do we call this? He is.
Well, it's a depraved indifference and a deranged indifference.
It's a deranged indifference.
Yep.
Open up the schools, open up businesses, everybody get back to normal. Also, he looks good politically. We have a pandemic that's killing tens of thousands of Americans.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about what less could he have done if he wanted to do absolutely nothing? And I don't know how much would have been different. Like the actions he took not only were not effective in combating the pandemic, they were effective in undermining efforts to combat the pandemic.
He sabotaged our efforts.
Yeah, 100%. He sabotaged the efforts with the rhetoric. He sabotaged the efforts with refusing to establish a federal buying program for PPEs and ventilators and all of that stuff. He made states compete against each other and the federal government for the equipment that they needed. He sabotaged it by not having an effective national testing strategy. He sabotaged it by saying testing wasn't something that we should even be doing. He sabotaged it by not demanding that people wear masks. He sabotaged it in a dozen ways. Now, there are things that Republicans like to point to and said, well, he did this and well, he did that. But those things that he did were the bare, obvious minimum of what any breathing human occupying the Oval Office would have done in those circumstances. He cut off travel from China. Okay, but who wouldn't have done that? Number one, and number two, he didn't do it effectively because something like 100,000 people came in from China in the month after the ban.
And then he was giving waivers to people.
Totally.
What?
It was a completely broken. It was the worst possible response we could have had. It really was. 200,000 people have died, and he keeps saying that it could have been 2 million. He's like, first it went from it's 15 and it's going away very soon to, well, it could have been 2 million if I weren't such a brilliant handler of this pandemic. But every other civilized country in the world has a death rate that is 10 times less than ours.
And he's on stage, maybe even right now, I don't know, with thousands of people not social distancing and mocking fucking masks.
Yeah. He's continuing to do it to this day. They keep talking about, Rand Paul did it this morning at the hearings. I don't know if you guys watched the hearings with Fauci, but
called him out. It was pretty great.
Yeah, Fauci called him out. Rand Paul, in two breaths. One, he said, you keep talking, you praised Cuomo, but New York has the highest death rate of anybody. And then in the next breath, he's saying, but they have herd immunity, and that's what we should be going for. Like, he's literally saying we should be pursuing this strategy that this specific state did, knowing that he just said pursuing that strategy or whatever happened that might have gotten them there created the highest death rate in the world. And aside from that, they didn't even get to herd immunity because they only have had a 22% infection rate, and you need something like 65 or 70%.
Okay, so I thought I'd heard the number was as high as 90, so it's like about 60 something?
Well, I suppose it depends on how infectious the disease is and how rapidly it spreads, but I think it's about 65 or 70%. We get to that with the flu every year, but we get to that with the flu every year because we have a vaccine. We don't get there because that many people are infected. We get there because that many people get injections combined with the number of people who are infected.
Makes my head spin. Okay, I'm going to shift gears here. One of our last topics, and actually, Matt, here's the thing. Think, sir, if you don't mind. I mean, you always think, but I'm gonna bring something to the floor here, and then Matt, you choose our last topic, whatever you want to discuss.
Okay.
The debate is when?
29th.
29th.
29. Yep.
Okay, Matt, what is your prediction of the debate? First of all, here's a question, Matt. Do debates matter? And they certainly mattered in 1980 with Reagan and Carter. That was an effective political theater, right? Where Carter looked weak and
Reagan lied.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the narrative held. That's what
it held. You look at the Obama-Romney debate, the first debate. I remember at the end of that debate, I thought, "Oh God, we're going to lose." That was what was that? But there were two others. So to give Carter credit, he didn't have the luxury of having any other debates. But Hillary cleaned Trump's clock overwhelmingly. He had some shots, the whole jail thing. Which, by the way, is there an audience at these debates?
I don't know yet.
If there's not, Trump is fucked.
It's a Fox hosted debate.
He's fucked if there's not an audience because he feeds off them. That's it. He can't sit there and actually have a debate. Ooh, that's interesting. I don't know. Matt, do you know?
No clue. It's going to kill him, though.
It's going to kill. Well, shit, this kind of alters my question. I was going to say, what are your predictions of the debate? But as I was thinking about that, I'm like, man, if there's not an audience or there is one, that changes everything for Trump. That's what he feeds off of. But
I don't think that, again, that 45% number lets you know that things are locked in. And really what it's about is for the 55% of the country who's at least Biden curious, you can get your enthusiasm up because Trump's going to say things to get his voters' enthusiasm up. He's going to somehow bring up how, he was a crook. He's going to say Burisma. He's going to say something stupid. He's going to probably at some point bring up Hillary. So is Biden going to be able to score enough points to his left flank, as well as say a few things? He's going to try to hit some crossover voters. Will Biden try to do too much to try to overcompensate and try to take away Trump's voters, or will he just stick to the script of what he's been doing so far?
do you think that the Trump campaign, I read in Politico today that there's a lot of advisors that are actually very concerned about the low expectations that they are setting for Biden. And that if he doesn't come out not knowing where he's at and just stuttering over his words, all he has to do is not do that at this point, and he's going to look effective. What do you guys think of that? Is there danger for the Trump campaign in setting expectations too low for Biden?
No, I don't think so. And the reason is because their base is
Baked in?
capable of holding two completely contrary ideas at the same time, as long as both of those ideas are that Trump is better.
Got it.
So I saw this today on Twitter where somebody was completely falsely stating that Kamala Harris had been the most invisible vice presidential nominee in the history of vice presidential nominees. And I'm like, not only is that untrue, but just last week you guys were hitting her and Biden for Kamala Harris being too much out front and her being a surrogate for actually campaigning for Biden, who was hiding in his basement. But for the base, both of those things can be true at the same time, and they don't see any conflict in them. So they can set low expectations for Biden before the debate, and then Biden performs well at the debate. And what do they say? Oh, well, I saw Hugh Hewitt did this, and Bill O'Reilly did this after Biden's town hall. They were like, looks to me like he just memorized a bunch of answers. You know, he really seems to know what the questions are going to be. Like, well, number one, yes, if you're going into a town hall or a debate, you should have a reasonable awareness of what the current events are and what questions are probably going to happen. That's called being prepared. But you can't on one hand say that Biden is mentally feeble. And then on the other hand, say he's able to memorize 13 questions and highly fact-filled answers and deliver them off the cuff and lie in front of a live audience. But for his base, both of those things are perfectly true. One is that he's feeble, and the other is that he's corrupt and cheating. He's speaking well on camera, but there must be a teleprompter there. And they're able to hold all of that in their head together and not have their brains completely shatter, because their brains are already completely shattered. It's just a puddle of goo inside the MAGA brain, and that's how they're capable of supporting Trump to begin with.
Mega. But that's how you're right about that, by the way. It's like he doesn't look as dementia because he was reading off a teleprompter, because people with dementia can stand there and read off a teleprompter. I mean, blows my mind.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
But to answer your earlier question, I don't think the debates are going to matter all that much. They didn't really matter in 2016. Obviously, Hillary,
apparently not.
Yeah. But I think one of the reasons is that for the driving motivation for most Trump voters isn't facts. It's not ideology. It's not policy. It's he sticks his thumb in the liberals' eye. That's it. They're angry at us and Trump yells at us. And so they like Trump. And that's really the bulk of what it is. I think something like 90% of voters, according to polling, have their minds made up in this election. That's way higher than it was in 2016. People like to talk about the polling in 2016 being completely wrong and Trump actually won, but it wasn't, number one. It was well within the margin of error, but there were something like 18% undecided, even in the last week going into the election. The vast majority of those made up their minds at the last minute, which was post Comey letter, post a couple of other things, and the majority of them broke Trump. In this election, that undecided number is down to around 9%, right? Not only is it down to about 9%, but the polls have been adjusted from what they were in 2016. And in 2016, the polls underrepresented non-college educated white voters as likely voters. And so they've adjusted for that metric going into this election. And so they're weighting more towards non-college educated white voters, which is a pro-Trump demographic. And even with that change, and even with the reduction in undecided voters, Biden is still leading nationally by close to 8%. And he's leading in 9 out of 12 so-called swing states. And in 6 to 8 of those, he's leading by 4 or more points.
And then the people who hate both, they're breaking Biden's way.
They're more breaking Biden. Whereas last time, the people who hated both were breaking Trump.
Well, at least we don't have a third. We don't have a Jill Stein right now. That's great.
Yeah, actually, the Green Party is getting kicked off of ballots in multiple states.
That's
Wisconsin,
great.
They just got kicked off.
Fantastic.
Kanye West has been kicked off. That's a whole saga.
Yeah. All right, Matt, go ahead.
My topic for you guys.
Go.
So this applies either way, because we know Biden's not going to serve. If he wins, he's not going to serve 2 terms. Let's be honest. He'll probably, he's just here to stick his finger in the word that people say that can be derogatory, but really just to hold the line.
Can I say something on that real fast?
Yeah.
I have been of the opinion, and tell me you're politically savvy, so tell me if I'm an idiot here. I have been of the opinion that should be something he should run on. I know Jeremy disagrees with me, but hear me out. So Matt, here's how I look at that. And I want to come back to your point, but would it be an effective message to say, look, here's the deal. I'm not even here to run for 2 terms. I'm here to run just to save our republic. Because
we can know that, and we all know that if you're kind of savvy, but you open yourself up to the other contender to say you don't really want the job.
No, but let me say the second part, and maybe it's still true.
Yeah.
Say, because a president, when they're in their first term, they spend half their first term campaigning and planning for their reelection. And I'm just going to be here every step of the way, not concerned about that at all, to fight for 4 years. And I'll be more effective in 4 years than your average president is in 2 terms. I say it out loud. I go back and forth with it. I just feel like own it and like make that a positive. There's something about that's true. You think about the second year of a president's first term and they're just campaigning for their reelection. I don't know, man. It just seems like it might work. Jeremy disagrees. Matt's skeptical. I don't know.
All right. So we all know that that's what's going to happen here.
Okay, fair enough.
So 2024, name 3 people you are sure would be presidential candidates, whether Democratic contenders, whether you think they'll be great or not. 3 people.
On the Republican side or Democrat side?
Democratic side, for the Democratic nomination.
Well, first of all, I think obviously Kamala Harris. I still haven't ruled out Beto. Called me a Texas absolutist. I just haven't.
You should.
But I don't know, man. I still would love to see President Elizabeth Warren. I just don't know that.
She's not going to be that much younger than Biden is now in 4 years.
No. And I still like Julian Castro a lot. I keep going back to my Texas people.
You want to go first, Jeremy, or you want me to go?
Well, the 3 names I wrote down right away were Harris, Booker, and Castro.
Yeah, I thought about Booker as well. So our list is more or less the same. I mean, obviously, Harris is a given because if she would be VP. And, And by the way, it could be Harris against Don Jr. Let's not rule that guy out. He scares the living fucking shit out of me, by the way, because Trumpism is now the Republican Party, and he's.
I think that fever could break if Trump loses. Now, there's going to be mass chaos for a solid 3 or 4 weeks after.
Trump's going to lose, Jeremy, but he's not going to go away. He'll do fucking rallies. He'll have own.
Yeah, but he becomes a caricature of himself. I don't necessarily need to get into all that. It's pure speculation, but I think I think that more than likely Harris would be the front runner, and she's not going to have. I don't know how many did we have at one point? 18, 20. Yeah. That's not going to happen. You might have 3 or 4 people who are actually running to try to just have some viral moment that catapults them to the front of the line, or they're running to be Harris's VP. So I think the most likely are Booker and Castro. I don't know. That's 4 years from now. It's hard to guess.
I'm guessing Harris, of course, AOC. Gavin Newsom.
AOC's not running.
Will she be old enough at that point?
Yeah, she needs another year.
Okay.
Oh, in 2024, she would need another.
No, now she needs another year.
Yeah.
In 2024, she'll be fine.
And she's going to run for president, I'm telling you.
Hey, you guys retweet our mega argument. I tweeted it. Okay.
So you had Harris and AOC, and who was the third one?
Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom.
Dude, listen, I saw Gavin Newsom years ago. I mean, he's been on Bill Maher a million times, regardless of what we all think of Bill Maher or whatever. I'm saying that's where I was introduced to him on Bill Maher. And I just remember thinking, what a suave, impressive, that dude is solid. And I'm glad you brought him up. I can't rule him out. That's a great
He used to be married to Kimberly Guilfoyle. That's some crazy stuff.
I'm checking out your the thing that you just put up. You gotta put a poll, man. You gotta make it a poll.
All right, well, I'll make it a poll. Can I share tweet it and make it a poll? Is this our most random episode that we've done so far? I love it.
No.
I am glad though that we started this episode at 5 o'clock California time, because generally we start around 2 o'clock California time, and I get off at like 3:30 and I'm hammered. Because I've already. And then I have to go and take a nap, and then I wake up at like 6 and I'm all like post nap, and I got to take the dog for a walk and make dinner.
Okay, Matt, you should make that a poll. Can you make that a poll?
Because
he knows the answer. You're the one who's confused here.
Look at me like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Fuck it, I'll make it a poll.
What are the chances the one with all the gray in their beard is the one mispronouncing it?
How do you make a poll and do a video? Can you do that?
No, leave the video off. Just make it a poll. Tonight, right here needs to be our cold opening for this episode. No, fuck it. Just leave the video off and make it a poll. Welcome to Left Crew Politics, episode 4. Well, because if I put it up, it's gonna have like 1,000 responses, and then it's gonna have like 1,000 replies.
Oh, bragging about your Twitter followers. What do you have? 300,000 now?
No, 50,000. But people are gonna dunk on me because they're gonna be like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
I can't vote for this guy. He doesn't know how to pronounce MAGA.
It's MAGA.
He's Politidope, and he doesn't know what MAGA is.
I've literally never heard anybody pronounce it mega until today.
God damn
No,
it.
he said it
Not
on
a single person ever.
He said it on many. Go listen to some earlier episodes. That's how he says it.
All right. So, guys, this is what I love about, and I hope if you guys, for those of you watching, embrace the spirit of this whole thing. Again, if you listen to our podcast and we're structured, we've done 4 of these little YouTube shows. It's just 3 friends, guys. I mean, it's literally like we're just sitting in a bar bullshitting about politics. We hope that exudes and that you enjoy this conversation. Any plugs or last words before we get out of here, guys? Any last quick topics to?
Gruhlkey, what do you got? What are you doing these days, man? Tell the people.
What am I doing? I've been doing a lot of coding. I took a full stack web development bootcamp course about 2 years ago. So I've been trying to use the bootcamp to actually build some stuff.
And he's done a really great job with our website that he designed 3 years ago. We haven't launched.
Yeah.
What kind of things are you doing? Like, what are you building? You said you're building.
I'm building a short story self-publishing site similar to YouTube where writers can come on and build a portfolio and post their short stories, and then ads get placed on it, and that revenue gets shared between the writer and the website.
Are you ready to share the name yet, or?
No, I've got a few different names I'm working on, but I'm horrible at naming stuff. So okay. I'm gonna have to workshop some of those names. But I should have a beta version ready to launch in, less than a month.
Let me take a look at it. I'm okay with phrasing things.
Are you? You wanna give me some possible names?
Yeah, we'll talk offline.
Yeah, totally.
We'll talk offline, and when you are elected, we are going to come see you.
Yeah.
So
well, that's what, and hopefully we get to. So it'll be like June. So the election in my district, the district that I hope to represent, it wouldn't even be my district if I won, because these districts don't belong to anyone except for the residents. But the district I represent is an overwhelmingly Democratic district. So the election is the primary election. So it would be June of next year. If I win the election, the primary election, I essentially have to make sure that I don't make a complete and utter fool of myself every day from June until November.
How many people are in the primary? How many people are you running against for the nomination?
So one, the incumbent, and I think there.
Do you have a Nancy Kerrigan? That guy? Who is it? Do you know him?
Well, we'll talk offline. The campaign is.
That's not a no. That's not a no.
I don't know what the Nancy Kerrigan is, so it may.
Oh my God, I'm so old. You're not old enough to know who Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding are?
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap the show up. Before we do plugs,
I
thought we just did plugs.
No, but he didn't plug.
Mega.
He didn't plug his Twitter handle.
I think it's Plug.
Plug. Matt, where can people find you on Twitter?
You guys confuse me with this whole Plug thing. All right, so you can follow me on Twitter at Politidope, Politidope. Also, Matt for Delegate, because I'm running for the Virginia House of Delegates, 47th District. That's not, again, until June of 2021. Getting started now. Just did a phone bank earlier tonight, trying to get the vote out for Biden down in North Carolina. And getting my people together, getting back used to leading these phone bank efforts. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Nice.
And can people donate to your campaign right now?
Yes, they can. They go to friendsofmattrogers.com. Any recurring donation, large or small, I'll send you a campaign face mask. I don't have one of those in there, but if you go to the website, it's on there. And folks I've been sending them across the country. A whole lot of people here in Arlington have sent me like photos of them at the polls wearing it, which is like surreal.
Sure. The next show that we do here, we need all get one, and let's open our show with it.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. All right, Jeremy. I don't get to plug anything. It's our show. I will just say follow us on Twitter at Left Crew Politic, Facebook Left Crew Politics, and YouTube channel Left Crew Politics. And we hope that you enjoy this content, and we hope that you enjoy this episode. We have a lot more things coming. I'm going to end the show before before I exit here with a little game I play with my kids called This or That. It's called This or That. And we're going to end the show with This or That. You guys ready? Okay.
I think I'm ready.
You ready?
Try.
All right.
Wing.
Matt, kitty cats, puppy dogs.
Puppy dogs.
Jeremy, Mexican food, Korean.
Mexican food.
Well, that was a trick question for you, though.
I know.
Actually,
My
so
wife's Korean. I'm actually learning Korean. It's going pretty well.
I know. I saw it at your wedding. It was amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Throw one at me, one on the show, the This or That. Come on, Jeremy. Just think on your feet.
This or that.
Mega or MAGA?
You would think this was planned. Mega! Anyway, thanks for watching Left Crew Politics. We'll see you next time.